What's up? Welcome back to the Modern Commerce Podcast. Excited to be here today with my guest, Zoe Khan. We are going to talk e-commerce. We're going to talk being a digital creator, being a Twitch streamer. We're going to talk about energy drinks, maybe. And we are going to do that all after a quick word from today's sponsors. What's up, everybody? This is John and Casey from ModCom, and I have to show you something, all right? This tool is called Wicked Reports. It's one of the best attribution tools I've ever seen because of this feature called Funnel Vision. It breaks up your ROAS into top, middle, and bottom of funnel. So I'm here in my Facebook ads account and checking out this campaign, V-Day Sale. I'd probably be cutting this thing, right? If I was looking in Ads Manager or if I was looking at First Touch Attribution, I'd be like, you suck, 0.18 ROAS. You're out. But if I look at it middle funnel, it's like one of the best closers. If I look at it bottom of funnel, it's one of the best closers. So that campaign is closing. I got to keep it running. I got to adjust the targeting in there, and I got to adjust the creative in there. You know what I'm saying, Casey?
John, if you look at the top campaign here, this 4-pack lob rolls, you can see actually the exact opposite effect. It's bringing people into the account, into this world really effectively, but it's not that closing type. So you kind of need a little bit of both, right? Like this is the Kobe. One you described as the Shack. Together, they make beautiful harmony in your ad account.
Yeah, that one's lobbing it up. The other one's throwing it down. If you want to find out which of your campaigns are Kobe's, which ones are Shacks, and which ones you should just cut entirely, don't even give them a roster spot, go to wickedreports.com and click the Book a Demo button. What's up, everybody? Today's episode is brought to you by ModCom. It's a super slick in-cart upsell app. So if I want to buy these New Balance trainers I'm trying to get in shape, I add them to my cart. My cart opens up and it says, hey, look, you're only $5 away from free shipping. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll add this to my cart since you recommended it. And now I got my free shipping. But hold up, I'm only $38 away from a free gift. So why don't I add a pair of size 8 New Balance trainers to my cart for my girlfriend? She's got bigger feet than me. And now look at this. It actually automatically added that free gift straight to my cart for me. That will all be there when I check out. Super nifty app, super slick, super quick way to increase your AOV. Go to monkcommerce.com. Try it free on your store for 7 days. We are back. That was quick. It's abrupt, isn't it?
Yeah. I was like throwing up peace signs to the IG Live.
To the IG Live. I'm glad we got it. We're here on IG Live. We're on IG. We're on YouTube. We're on like a bunch of platforms right now. We're on LinkedIn. And we are going to talk about some stuff today. Quick intro of my guest, Zoe Khan, host of one of my favorite e-commerce podcasts, mostly because most e-commerce podcasts are boring and yours is not boring. So it's not a high bar, but you definitely clear it. Though, is it called What's Your Biggest Oopsie, or is it just the Oopsie Pod?
Oopsie Podcast, and that is very flattering. I love that. But yes, you're right. There are some boring e-com D2C marketing podcasts out there. So
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. If you're trying to drive and stay awake while you're listening to a marketing podcast, maybe
listen to Oopsie Podcast.
Maybe listen to Oopsie Podcast. There we go. That's a perfect pitch for your podcast.
I'm going to clip this and use it as an ad.
If you want to stay awake.
Yes.
Yeah, give us your background. Give us the rundown on Zoe.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start where I am today. Right now I do retention.
You go backwards? Okay. That's cool.
Well, how would you like
okay. It's your journey. It's your journey.
It's my journey. Okay, so right now I'm doing retention and CX at Chomps. Healthy meat snacks. You guys seen these? So we're like a better for you Slim Jim. And I lead retention and CX. So email, SMS, also participate or also do some brand stuff, and then as well as oversee CX, so customer experience. But my background before this, I took a little hiatus from working, and I streamed on Twitch for full time for 6 months. So I literally played video games for 6 months straight. And I was happy doing that. There was a couple different things that led to that, like streaming on Twitch, little hiatus that I did. But before that, I was in ecom D2C with Ghost Lifestyle, the supplement brand. We were just talking about it. A lot of people look at it as like an energy drink brand, but when I started, it was just supplements. And now there's like energy drinks everywhere. Like every gas station or convenience store that you go to now, you'll see Ghost Energy, which is really cool to see because it wasn't even a idea when I started. And then I saw the cans go through, like literally coming into HQ, having no label on them. We would like get the cans in and marker the bottom of them so we knew which
Just like
flavor it
Sharpied
was.
it, like,
Yeah,
hey, yeah, this
literally.
one's, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Rocking
literally.
the Sharpie.
So crazy to see that it's like in every single gas station now, and
Yeah.
like even like the rinky dink gas stations. I'm like, how do you guys have Ghost
Yes.
Energy? That's freaking wild. So yeah, that's where I was before, and then before that, I managed GNCs. And that's how I got into Ghost. Is I met some of the Ghost people from GNC. So
Nice.
Retail, CX, ecom, D2C, and then
All
creator,
the
like you
things.
said.
Yeah. So just acknowledging the chat. If we're ignoring you, it's, we know you're there. We see you. We're trying to get a somewhat clean podcast recording, so it's not just going to be a chat interaction. But yeah, Adam in the chat loves Ghost. He's a big fan of our sports pod. So
Oh, cool.
and then saw some people saying hi to you in the chat on IG. Yeah, interesting. You said we're like just talking about it before this. Just a quick reminder, everybody wasn't there for that. That was just you and me. So
Right. Yeah, I
know.
keep getting mixed up.
Yeah. No, okay. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, and we can get into, I think, we're going to talk about just tools of the trade as creators, as brands, things like that. It's interesting having you because you're on both sides of it. But I am interested, like you kind of said, you alluded, and I think you were trying to be like, oh, let me be short with my story and not, do this rambling intro, but it was worked. You hooked me. So very interested. Why take a hiatus? What led to your hiatus from working to essentially become a full-time, creator, streamer on Twitch?
Great question. So I should talk about first what got me into streaming. So at my time at Ghost, we came out with Ghost Gamer, which is a nootropic like energy drink that you can drink. It's powdered and you can drink it for gaming and for focus or for work. But it's called Ghost Gamer. And when that came out, we also started a Twitch channel, and I had no idea what Twitch was. I was like, why would you watch people play games if you could just play them yourself? Like I didn't understand it. But I was helping out with just growing that channel, and I got like super addicted. I was like, helping grow Twitch. I was like, okay, I get it now. I understand like why people want to watch and like interact with the creators, and just like it's a style of like vlogging almost, but you're like, so I got it.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different world.
It is one of those things. So I remember thinking the same thing about Twitch, because like when somebody explained it to me, I'm like, what that sounds like is like when you're a kid and like you go to a friend's house and they just like are like, yeah, I got this new video game. And then they play and they make you sit there and watch them play. And it's the worst.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're like, can we take turns?
Yeah, like do you got another dude, you got another controller. Like, can we not just both play this game? But they're like, no, I want to, I want to beat the story mode. But like, yeah. So when somebody first explained Twitch to me, I was like, that seems awful, right? Like that's what I associated. But it's not like you get it. Twitch is one of those things that is very much like if you know type of thing. Like you gotta, if you participate in it, you're like, no, it's good. And there are good creators and bad creators, right? Like bad creators probably are that person who just sits there and plays and makes you watch them. And good creators are people who interact and stuff. So yeah. And so you got hooked was Ghost using internal people? Like, were you streaming for Ghost, or was it like, were they partnering with doing collabs?
That was kind of like the joke was like, oh, Zoe doesn't know how to game. Let's like have her play every once in a while. And like, let's make fun of her.
That's pretty much what we're doing with our sports podcast. Casey, who you met before this, is streaming, and he'll like play on easy mode and still lose like a fair amount. Yeah, so it's like we call it hunting dubs or hunting wins. It's like mostly we're gonna not win, so when we win, it's a big deal.
And it's like, let's make fun of him while we do it.
It's a whole other brand of streaming. Casey had to come in and tell us about it.
Hey guys, that's not very nice to talk about me while I'm right here. You could at least wait till I'm not around and talk trash behind my back.
I wouldn't want to do that. I want to talk trash behind your back. I talk trash directly to your face.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Hunting Dubs, Triple Cross Podcast, YouTube channel. Check it out. We're on Twitch too. Just saying.
Little plug. I like it. Okay, so then why then Zoe? Back to Zoe. This isn't about you, Casey. God.
All right.
I was just
Back to me.
taking the attention. Why go back to work? So you got addicted to streaming while you're at Ghost. Addicted is a weird, let's not maybe throw that a word around so lightly. But you got into streaming while you're at Ghost. You were kind of one of the internal streamers there. And then did that actually like build your following on Twitch? Like why, you know, I guess that covers like why you did it. Like why go back? Or is it like, oh, money? I needed money or what, you know?
No, actually. So I started streaming part-time while I was at Ghost. So I would like do my day job and it was during COVID was when it's like, so we had nothing better
it's a good
to
time
do.
to be a
So
streamer.
it was the best time to be a streamer. So I would just like do my normal like day job with Ghost, and then like we would take like a little break, and then like the Ghost fam, we would stream together like from like I don't know, we would hop on at like 7 p.m. and stream till like 2 a.m. sometimes, and then like go to sleep, wake up, do Ghost work, and like repeat. Like that was like we just did that like every day. So I streamed off my own channel. So like when I didn't stream that often off the Ghost channel, like just every once in a while, and like if they needed someone to, and then I would stream off my own channel, and I started creating a following, and I actually created a following less from like Ghost following, but I had I was growing my TikTok during that time too.
Ooh.
And so I got a lot of followers from TikTok. And it was like a scary thing for me because I still didn't understand Twitch, and I thought it was like when people were coming into the stream and they were like people I didn't know, because it started off as like, oh, it's my friend from work, or it's like I know that this is a customer from Ghost. And then when these like random people would like be in my chat and they're like, can I play? Or like just like, oh, I don't know, saying weird stuff about me being a girl gaming, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to end my stream. And I would like end my stream because I was scared. Like I was so confused like that. Like I should have like capitalized on all these like randos coming from my
Is it
TikTok.
like a bunch of like thirst comments? Like what is it? Like what?
It was just like weird. It was more people saying like, can I play with you to like help you get better? Because I literally because I was so bad.
So and they were like stereotype, like you're like this white girl who like doesn't know how to play, like just the stereotype.
I was
like,
so bad.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And it was like that was like how I gained my following though. It was like because I started like literally I first played Warzone, like my first time pressing like play was like on stream live. So people just would like try to like teach me how to play while like in my chat, like my chat was teaching me how to play. And so people were constantly like, can I join your squad? Can I join your squad? And it would like overwhelm me. And I'd get these like random people and I would just like end my stream. I wouldn't even say goodbye. I'd like get overwhelmed. Yeah. So that's like how my
so you're growing a following by just not knowing what you were doing. And both as a streamer and as a gamer.
Yeah, and people kind of stuck around because of that.
It's endearing. Yeah.
They got to see like me become like know what I'm doing on streaming and on the game. So that's how I built it, and I started making good money part-time while I was at Ghost.
Okay.
And this gaming like brought weird opportunities to me. So this is actually why I left Ghost. I got an opportunity to film a TV show that they recruited me because I was into gaming and fitness. Because Ghost and we didn't really like touch on this, but like I'm very into like fitness and health and lifestyle, and I actually used to compete in bikini bodybuilding too. So that's like an old me. But so I was into fitness and gaming, which I think is becoming more and more popular. But like typically you think gamers, you don't think like health and wellness.
Right.
So I got recruited to be on this little TV show, but it had to be filmed in Australia for 6 weeks. And we had just gone back into the office, and like it just like wasn't going to work out. If I wanted to do the TV show, I couldn't stay at Ghost. So I was like, okay, I don't know if this TV show, and it's called Frogger. It's on Peacock. I'm in episode 4. It's like not that cool. But
now we know though. Yeah. You're an open book. I appreciate you being an open book. Like sometimes when I do stuff that's not that cool, I'm like, just bury that deep down.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's like a Wipeout style TV show.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Okay.
mhm. But I was in like the very first season. I'm not even sure if they're like gonna do another season. But it was a
Uh-huh.
very scary decision for me to make because I was either going to keep my job that I loved. And, like Ghost is like a cool place to work, you know.
Right.
Had all my friends there. I was like had my people, you know. So it was like stay there or like take this like weird TV opportunity and then like afterwards stream on Twitch full time. Like it was
Yeah.
all like and the TV opportunity was like, "Oh, there's a new streaming platform called Peacock." It was before Peacock was a thing. And it
Right.
was like during COVID and they're like, "And we're going to fly you to Australia." And like
You're like,
nobody
I'm
could get into
bet.
Australia at the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is like this doesn't seem real. And
Yeah.
so I was like I took this huge leap and I filmed this TV show that I got like paid for it and then it was really fun. I went to Australia for 6 weeks. I actually streamed while I was in Australia from like my hotel room and I like built my I knew that like once I got home like streaming was going to be my full-time thing. Like I needed to like make sure I was making enough money doing it
Yeah.
to, like, pay my Chicago bills. And yeah, I made it work, and, I streamed for 6 months full time, and then I got recruited actually to work at Chomps, and I said no 2 or 3 times before I actually, um, wanted like, because I was literally playing video games. It was like,
Yeah. Like,
"Go
why
back
would
to
you?
ecom or play video games."
Right. Right.
For a
So
living.
why? So why go back to ecom? Like you said no a few times. Why did you say yes
Mhm.
in the end?
I interviewed and I just like loved everybody who worked there and everything they represented. Like the team at Champs is amazing. The owners are so cool. And they have like the same values as me of like being healthy and like balanced and everything. And then also I kind of missed that like teamwork of like working towards like revenue goals and things and like marketing campaigns and like all of those like team building things that you work together.
You're just in a silo essentially as a gamer. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like there's different like people who kind of team up or whatever, but yeah, it's like in the end it's you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really missed like that part of it and it was like really cool to be a full-time streamer, but it wasn't as fulfilling as you'd think. Like you would game and like sometimes you'd win the game, but then you do it again, you know? And like you
Yeah.
like talk to chat and you like ask them how their day is. You tell them how your day is and like it's just like this repetitive cycle of like same thing every day and like yes, you're getting more followers, you're getting more subscribers and like there's like that's kind of it. It's like there's no
You just
like moving
all
up really besides
yeah.
getting more followers and maybe getting like some brand deals, but I missed the like goals and like working as a team and like furthering my career and everything.
That's interesting. I've never thought of like being of that like aspect of creatorship. And so this is where I want to maybe infuse this conversation into like kind of I say this word all the time and I hate this word every time I say it. It's creator economy. Ugh, yuck. It's such a buzzword, but it's kind of where maybe I want to infuse this into the idea of like what does being a creator look like today? Because essentially you just said a bunch of stuff that like I think that most people who are and maybe people who think of themselves as influencers specifically, they don't think it's not their idea of being a creator or influencer. Their idea is I build my following, I get brand deals, and I get like I make money recommending products or whatever, right? Like I essentially
Mhm.
become my own little media company, which is not untrue. It is what you do, uh but all of it sounds like all of your biggest wins essentially have come from being like doing something a little bit more than that in terms of like being more like, oh, I did this TV show or I did it. And the thing that you didn't like was that was the model I just described of like, oh, I create content, build my following, recommend products. You're like, it's just the same stuff all the time. And that was the part that you didn't like. So did your background as a streamer creator, did that play into Chomps' recruiting you or anything? Is that related in any way to your opportunity at Chomps or what you do at Chomps or anything like that?
I think they might have thought it was unique,
Yeah.
because sometimes, like, and we've done like certain, it's like totally not Chomp's current demographic,
Right.
but like it's unique because we want to increase like our household penetration rate, and like we want to be available to everyone, and it actually like makes sense for like gamers to eat Chomps because it's like it's clean, like physically clean, like it's not like Doritos and you're getting like your Dorito fingers on and Cheeto fingers on like your keyboard, but then it's also like a clean snack and like, easy protein, whatever. So it's like it kind of makes sense for that to be like a gaming snack. So I think that was like unique in my background, and I've actually found that not only like gaming, but like just being like a smaller creator, like micro influencer, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Oh, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you
Okay.
can. I mean, you just did, so I guess I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, Casey swears all the time on this show. I've never sworn once.
Okay, cool.
That's all
Got
right.
it.
That's
But yeah, so I think it's like it's nice for me to have that knowledge, but that wasn't like I don't think why they hired me. It was more for like my knowledge in CX, and which is what I originally got hired for. And I got recruited also because the one of the accountants on the finance team, he worked with me at Ghost and had like the really great things to say, which was really nice. So that's like how I got the connection and everything.
How do you think your experience, and this is just like this is like the most general question ever. By the way, I will come clean on this because I felt guilty instantly after I said it. The first person to ever swear on Modern Commerce was me. And I don't swear very much personally, but you are 100% allowed to swear on the show. Yes. If swearing's part of your normal thing, that's fine. I just don't.
Does that feel good to get off your chest?
I feel, yes, I feel a burden has been lifted at this point. Casey was gonna come say it anyway.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, you can't be lying to the people like that. That's not what happened. That's not how it went down.
I won't do you like that. I won't do you like that. No, yeah. So this happens. I've noticed this is a little aside, a little behind the scenes on our podcasts, because I don't swear very much. I've noticed other people like who swear in their normal, like don't like feel weird about it, or like they just don't swear on our shows. Like I've noticed that on our sports show as well. We specifically have 2 guests that's like very clear that they never swear, and I'm like, I don't think you guys never swear in your regular lives. Like, I don't know, something about me makes people feel like they can't swear, I guess.
Yeah,
you're just wholesome guy, John.
That's it. Yeah. Did
you
I mean, you instantly were like, oh, am I allowed to swear? Was there something about me that made you feel like
no, I always just forget to like ask, because on our podcast we just swear and everyone swears, but like usually it's like etiquette to ask before you start swearing on someone else's podcast, and I didn't follow that etiquette. So
and that's really what I'm more upset about. It's not that you swore, it's that you didn't ask ahead of time. It was really poor etiquette.
Casey was going to come in and berate you anyway.
That's really why I jumped on stage.
I accept that. I respect.
It's on you. It's on you. No, so what you said was like, I think this is like a generalized question of like, I think people with different varying experience, and there's like lots of research around this in sports, like some of the best athletes are not athletes who like specialized early, right? Like they played a lot of different things, and they're like better when they do specialize. People with varying degrees of experience in different things are like more capable in whatever chosen profession there are. And there's even studies that show that like when people from different professions like just share the problems like that they're trying to solve with each other, someone from another profession that knows nothing about their problem will be like, oh, you could try this, and then like, or that like with this very basic knowledge will be like, oh, why don't you try this? And it's like, whoa, that's the solution, because it's like, oh, something like they just relate it, right? So I long setup for a very simple question. Do you feel like being a gamer, being a streamer, interacting with people constantly in a chat and doing it for yourself in this way that it's like, this is my livelihood, these people will have to like me or at least come back and watch me on a regular basis, do you think that helps you and makes you a better customer experience person, you know, in your like profession?
Yeah, I think
really
it
obvious
helps.
answer, I guess, but yeah.
I think it helps on like multiple different levels. Like actually so many different levels. So like when I was at Ghost, I was doing I was on the customer experience, customer support. I was a manager there. I would actually get customers who would have like Ghost issues come into my chat and like be like,
while you're
hey.
streaming.
Yeah, I'm like they'd be like, hey, like is something wrong with my order, or like I received the wrong thing, and I'm like, Okay,
Did you
but like,
did you have Twitch plugged into your CX, into your customer
yeah,
service
yeah, I'm like,
tech?
okay, let me fix your issue right now. No,
Yeah.
but like, it was interesting to like, like humanize yourself for these people, and I think that you can like take that idea and like that's like a big thing that I have with my values as like for customer experience is like humanizing,
Yeah.
and I think being going through that and being like, okay, not only are like we're always trying to prove that we're real people on the other side, but like our customers are real people. Like they'll come to my Twitch stream and know that I eh, manage the customer support at Ghost and ask me questions, you know? So like that humanizing aspect to it, but then also opening up your mind to so many different um, types of consumers because like it used to be like for example like what we were just talking about is like that's not our demographic is it's not like get millennial gamers or anything it's a whole different demographic and having gone through like learning a whole new world like literally gaming is like $1 billion industry it like shows
Yeah.
you that there's so much more than your like your pigeonholed like demographic that you're trying to target, and I think that helps me with, like, literally every aspect of business is, like, there's
Mhm.
a whole other world than the like, your prime demographic, and, like, yes, you wanna, like, focus on that, like, niche at first, but then after you, like, master that niche, you can expand to everything else, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's, like, a bunch of different things that it helped with.
Yeah. No, I think it's like having some experience, right? Like managing like live chat, interacting with people live and stuff like that. Probably not anywhere near to the degree that you have. It is. I'm like, oh, it's like a crash course in like just humanizing yourself, humanizing them, interacting. Sometimes they say weird stuff. Sometimes it's like, I don't think you know how to type. Like, I'm pretty sure you didn't mean to type that. I have no idea what you're trying to say, but you still have to react to it somehow, right? And you got to think quickly, you know.
Mhm,
And I think a lot of that's like super applicable to really any job, but like especially customer experience.
mhm.
So this leads me to a thought that I have, but I'll leave this open ended for you. Do you see? Okay, so you work brand side, and you've also been a creator. Do you see that there being kind of an evolution in the way that brands and creators work together, specifically one away from, I think there's kind of like there was a few years of this like pay for post thing, right? Or like pay Twitch streamer to say something about product during stream or whatever, right? Like, this very transactional, like I'll pay you money, you do this thing. Do you think that we're moving away from that, like, as like brands and creators are not, or brands and influencers are not going to continue to collaborate that way?
It's such a great question because, and I think it really, really depends on the brand because you've got this like brand awareness part of influencing, and then you've got like ROI driven and like making sure that like what you're paying for is you're getting back in revenue for these creators. So like,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to measure that brand awareness. And I think that when you're a brand that's like in retail, that brand awareness is like so much more important because, or you can like flex a little bit on that like brand awareness and like just asking creators to like talk about it. Um, and that affects should we like pay them to do it or should we just give them a affiliate code or should we
Yeah.
there's just so many different ways you can go about it. And creators nowadays are like charging a lot of money. As yeah.
Yeah.
Like and
It's an economy that needs to self-correct. And I think it will a little bit, right? Because the brands will stop paying that much. But yeah, it's
especially now going into recession, that's the first
right.
thing that people are pulling is their marketing. Like they're not just going to give like eventually, if, like, we really go into, like, a hard recession, they're not gonna give a streamer 50K to, like, say, what like, just put in like, the creators are gonna have to start working, like, and proving their numbers and everything, and there's so many ways for creators to do that, but normal creators who don't have marketing backgrounds might not understand that, like,
Yeah.
you need to get if someone's paying you this much money and they're an online exclusive, D2C exclusive brand, your coupon code has to reflect this many sales for it to even make it worth for you to talk about it. And I think that's where creators and brands are kind of like fighting each other right now, depending on what it is. I do think that brands need to like let up a little bit and like understand that the brand awareness is very important for, especially if you're in retail. Like for for example, like their Ghost energy is like freaking everywhere, right? So like even if someone's talking about Ghost anywhere, like those creators should be valued more than just what their coupon code usage is, because they can get Ghost in Vitamin Shop, they can get it in GNC, they can get it in Dick's
7-Eleven.
Sporting Goods. Then the energy is like everywhere. So like that brand awareness part of it should be like more valued for those brands that have distribution in stores everywhere. But if there's a D2C brand that only sells online, you can be a little bit more picky of like, okay, this is your code performance did this, and or your engagement on social media did this. It really depends on like the distribution of the product. And I
Right.
do think that like, yeah, creators are getting a little crazy. Even myself, like I used to do stuff just for free product, and sometimes I still do, but like if someone wants me to like put time and effort into like making some stories or some like content for them that they're going to use as like paid media, like please pay
Yeah.
me for that,
Yeah. I like what I love that. I love two things about what you just said. One, creators, like there's going to have to be an evolution of creators where they understand the value that they bring a little bit better than maybe they do now. Or they just maybe now don't feel like that's their job to do, right? But I think that the brand side, I love what you said. I'll probably clip it. I'll probably put it on YouTube. I'll put it on Instagram, and I'll send it to brands every time they say that they're not getting an ROI from influencer marketing or from creators, because let's not put this all on the creators. Yes, maybe they do over. Yes, maybe that economy does need to self-correct a little bit, but brands also have this tendency to just like, what's the coupon code usage? What's the direct ROI? When like by nature, when somebody's engaging with a creator, they're like they're there with them, especially a streamer, right? Like if you promote something and you're like, hey, yeah, use this coupon code or whatever, and you're streaming, like you're streaming, like they want to stay there with you. They don't want to go use that coupon code right now. So then later, when they're at the gas station, they're like, oh yeah, Ghost, that was that one that she used. Like I'll try it, whatever. Like they feel like they got a reco right for it.
Mhm.
And that doesn't go on your, like, and even if it's D2C, like, they might see an ad for it later and be like, oh yeah, that was the one that got recommended. And then it gets attributed to ads, not attributed to the creator. So let's not like put all of this on the influencers and creators, because by nature, people are engaging with them and want to continue to engage with them when it's getting promoted. So there is some brand awareness aspect there. We say this all the time on the pod. One of the biggest things that people want to know when they're trying to buy ad spots is like, what's the ROI going to be? And in a B2B pod, especially, it's like, well, how do you want to measure that, dude? Because like,
Mhm.
if they go to your website and book a demo, like you're not going to know it's even from us. There's no promo code. And then they're like, well, we can make a special landing page for you. And I'm like, well, why would they go to that? Even they just Google your name. Like,
Yeah.
furthermore, it's a podcast. They're working out, they're driving, they're doing something else, like they're not like rushing to go over to your website to book a demo this instant. In fact, they probably have to hear us say it 13, 14 times, maybe not that many, 5, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in there, somewhere between
We'll
2
do
and
some stats. We'll do some
3,000. Yeah. 3,000 times. You need to buy 3,000 ad spots from us. And that's when you'll start seeing the ROI. We're
Yeah,
just
and I
science.
can give some tips for creators actually for this like brand awareness part, because like you said it
Yeah.
very well. Like that, like the first time they see a creator using it, they're probably not going to convert right away. But what I did, if you guys are familiar with like, and you can do this with any platform if you're a creator and um, looking to prove yourself to brands. I made a Discord channel for like my top two. So I made a Discord channel that I called like Everything Ghost and Everything Chomps, so that
Yeah.
I can see when people go into store, and like I encourage them to like, and people do this all the time anyways. They like they will tell you like, for when I was streaming, like, oh, I picked up Chomps at Whole Foods today. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, so like they're sometimes telling you that they're doing these things, but you're not getting rewarded for it
Right.
monetarily. Besides like that brand awareness part of like if a brand paid you upfront to talk about it, then that's already what you got like paid for to do. And that's them going into retailers is the brand's return on investment, right?
Right.
So, but what I did was created like a channel where my followers can post every time that they go in and like get something in retail. So like I had like all this like I had this like huge Discord of like everyone buying Ghost Energy in store, and it's like I can bring that back to like the athlete manager and say, hey, like this is not my coupon code did this performed this well. I had like all this brand awareness from all these people posting in my Discord and people that creating like FOMO from other people grabbing it and saying like even they would be like, I grabbed this at 7-Eleven, I grabbed this at Quick Stop, I grabbed this, and like my followers are like creating awareness of like where you can get these products. So it's like huge. And then on top of that, you also have people tagging you on like Instagram stories. They'll like pick something up, tag you on Instagram. Like creators should like save all of that, and use that to like to continue to get your brand deals and like show your worth, because like I think creators have a hard time showing their worth if they don't have this marketing background and they don't understand what brands are looking for.
I think another tip I would have for creators, I love those. I love that you did the Discords, like, and that's the thing. It's like your biggest fans will then, so this is, I think another idea is like your biggest fans, the people who are most into you as a creator, they will also like almost instantly before they buy it become one of Ghost's best customers, assuming they like it. They're going to try it. If they like it, then it's like that's going to be their go-to, or they'll be one of Chomps' best customers because like that's going to be their go-to because they already are into you. They just want to be into the things you're into. So as long as they like it, they're going to be. So that's another thing you can kind of bring to brands is that it's like, hey, like especially if you have people in that Discord who are like, look, this same person bought it, 4 times. Like every brand knows, and this is just a little insight for creators. Every brand knows that there's sort of this 80-20 rule, and really it's more of like a 95-5 rule where 5% of your customers are better than the other 95%, and they might bring in just as much revenue as the other 95%. Like they buy all the time, they buy everything they launch, they're like super fans. So if you can show to a brand that like I am far more like, maybe you don't get tons of conversions off my coupon code, but the conversions you do get, those are most likely to be in that 5%. They're most likely to be your super fan customers. That's true, and I've actually seen that play out. I work with a brand that does a royalty deal with a creator, and they're like all of our best customers are people who have bought her product. So yeah, it's like that. I mean, you're kind of, as a brand, I don't want to say hijacking, but I'm going to say it, hijacking like the know, like, and trust factor of that creator by supporting them. So yeah, I mean, look, we can make the case for creator and influencer marketing all day. I think, there's a lot there for creators. I do think though, just to give my 2 cents, and then I think we'll move on maybe to a different topic. I do think that we're going to see a little bit of a different approach to this. And I think that really what will happen is like, I look at it as like, what other value can you bring besides just like promoting the product on your Instagram or, sharing the product on your podcast or whatever. So an example of what this might look like for you, Zoe, might be like, okay, you work CX at Chomps. You already do that, right? If they're like, hey, we are actually kind of interested in getting into the gaming market, how could we do that? You could be like, well, look, I mean, maybe I spend of my work week 10, 15, however many hours, some portion of my work week streaming and like streaming for Chomps. I can go from the Chomps channel, I can go from my channel, I can build us up on Twitch, right? And so it's like, whether you're working for a company or doing something, and it also breaks up the monotony in a sense, right? Like Ghost is at a point now that they might hire someone to be a streamer, maybe not full-time, but it's like, oh, you can do this thing for us and you can also stream. Like, let's actually make that part of your job to stream for us. You see this all the time in B2B, right? Like my role at structured agency was to be the head of performance, but a big portion of my job was to also like share content and share what's working and like get that stuff out there, and also share that with our other people who had personal brands to share it and stuff. So like it, I think that that's a whole other layer of this where it's like, if you can start to understand the brand side a little bit more as a creator, you can do these more meaningful, collaborative, like partnerships with fewer brands, which is easier as a creator to do fewer partnerships with fewer brands, and they're more meaningful, more collaborative. You're bringing more value to it, and you're having more fun, honestly, because you're not just doing that monotonous, like, I create, I get brand deals, I create, I get brand deals all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I might be like just a kiss ass, but I think that the brands you work for, you should be advocates for. So like I do that shit like just
Yeah.
for fun, you know? Like I um I mean, it would be awesome to take 10 hours out of my week out and stream instead, but
Right.
I'm like one of those people who like if I work for a brand, I'm going to like incorporate it in like everything
Yeah.
outside because um I don't think it takes like that much effort to be like these like advocates for your job if it's things you're doing outside anyways, and the more you advocate for your brands or like the brands that you work for, the better they're going to do and see that you like and
Yeah.
they should reward you for that, you know,
Mo-
in
yeah.
other ways.
Assuming you work, if you really like the brand, probably they're the kind of brand that will reward you for doing that.
Mhm.
And maybe it doesn't look like that. And maybe they're like, hey, look, no, we need you to be a full-time customer service manager. But like, if you're wanting to stream, how can we support that,
Mhm.
in the, hours outside of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, right?
Yeah.
Or however they want to define it. Because that's the other thing is, I guess I'll ask you, do you find, and maybe maybe this is more relevant at Ghost than at Chomps, do you find that there's a bleed? Because I do think so. This is maybe the danger of what I was just saying. When you become this internal influencer, let's
Mhm.
call it, there can be a little bit of a bleed between like what is work and what is not work, but is work adjacent, and what's expected from the company and the culture, right? Like what, at Ghost, I'm sure you weren't required to be on those streams with everybody, but I'm sure that it was, without saying it was expected, right? To a degree. So yeah, I mean, I guess give me your thoughts on that. Like, is there bleed and how do you manage it?
Uh, I think if you're not careful, there could definitely be like more bleed. But like I want like if I ever was like, no, I don't want to do that, they would have never forced me to do it. But I wanted to be doing those things, and I really am like such a person that goes like above and beyond my job description, and I think that's like how I've gotten to where I am today. Otherwise, I think I would have been like years behind where I am in my career. So, I do think though, like, you could, like it's like that meme that they're like, "Oh, if you're if you're good at your job, you get rewarded by getting to do everyone else's job too." And
Right.
then, like, get paid the same. So, like, I think there's that, like, there's this, like, fine line, but honestly, I don't really care because, like, that's where how you learn and you advance in your career, and it hard work, like, I don't know if it's like a karma thing or what, but, like, your hard work that you put in, if it's not gonna be rewarded, like, at your like, where you are today, you're gonna learn so much from just going above and beyond and, like, giving those things and, creating for your brand, and, like, other people will see that, or maybe even, like, other brands will see it and be like, "Holy shit, she, like, not only kills it at her job, but she's, like, a complete advocate for this brand, like, we would die to have her to work for our company," you know? So, like,
Yeah.
I think that no matter what, like, if you're gonna put in hard work, if it's not gonna be rewarded today, it'll be rewarded in another way, in the future for something else, whether it's, like, from you learning something or from other people noticing what you're doing.
If you're, and I would say that if you're like, because I was just thinking of a situation where I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I think that I've been in a situation before where that's not the case. And given I would say I haven't had like a real job for like a long time, but I've essentially had one real job since I've started creating content at all, which is like, I kind of feel like it makes it obvious what I'm talking about. But uh, like, I think there's a chapter of my life where I felt that kind of where it actually became an expectation that I was going to do things that weren't really part of like what my job description would be. You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, that's what's got to happen in order to make this work. And if you want to make it work, you want to make it work. If you don't, then you don't. Then and if that's how you feel, and if it's stuff that you don't really want to do, Or if it's like, well, I do want to do it, I just don't want to do it under those circumstances. Then it's just, yeah, I mean, you got to look around, and maybe it's just not, that situation just isn't right for you anymore. But if you've been putting in the hard work and I go back and forth on like, should everybody grow a personal brand or not? But if you've been putting in the hard work, and if you've been, going above and beyond, creating content, building a personal brand, you'll probably have some opportunities, right? And you'll have opportunities where, maybe it will be integrated as part of your job, or maybe it won't, but it would be rewarded. So yeah, I agree. I do want to go ahead.
Can I ask you a question about that? Now, in that situation, did you speak up about what your expectations
were? Certainly a situation where I don't think that speaking up would have been met well. So that's what I mean. If you're there, if that's where you are kind of in your situation, it's like, hey, I know that this stuff's being expected of me. It's not being outright verbalized. Had I said something, they'd have been like, no. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not the expectation. Absolutely not. But it is. And so if you're in a situation like that, then it's like, you're just kind of in a bad like life situation, and you got to do what you got to do, right, to pay the bills. But you just got to know that this isn't great, if you're feeling a certain kind of way.
Yeah, I'm a really strong advocate for like, if you're not happy at your job, then fucking leave. Like, don't be scared, because there's so many opportunities out there. And like, maybe it's like easy for me to say because like, I don't know, but I just think you can like create so much opportunity for yourself. And there's like literally no point to be staying somewhere that's like where you're not valued. And like, especially if you have like a good skill. And I think that some jobs and some like leaders or founders do a good job at suppressing people, and which is like really fucking sad, and like literally ingraining like imposter syndrome in people, where they're like scare them to like stay. But like, there's so much opportunity out there in the world. Like, you just have to go out and find it. And that might sound like cliche or whatever, but it's like so true.
Principally, I'll agree. Practically, I will give you the pushback.
Yeah.
Principally, yes. And really the best mindset to have is that is an abundance mindset around money, around life, period, around opportunity. There's different life situations. I am the sole provider of a family of 4. Like, so
that's
3
a lot
kids,
of 3
kids, me, and 5, 3 kids, me, my wife, and my wife doesn't work, right? So like, I can't be overly reckless for sure. So there's definite fear when it's like, and the other thing that I did is like, I took sort of like a role job situation where I hadn't done, I had been an entrepreneur for the however many years before that. And so then it's like, I kind of went all in on this thing, and I felt like, oh man, now I like kind of like have to start from scratch, or whatever. So yeah, I mean, look, there was probably some unreasonable fear there, but there's also some reasonable, like, I can't be reckless. So there's some practical, like, I'm not going to be an advocate for like, if you don't like your job, just recklessly leave, right? I can't fully sign off on that statement.
Why can't you just go to Australia and quit your job and play video games?
And play video games and get on the Australian version of Wipeout. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's, you got to know your situation. But if you are feeling trapped, especially if you have a skill, if you're capable, that's the other thing that happens. Usually it's when this company is in a bad spot. Right. So it's not necessarily always sometimes it's a situational thing. And that's what I would say it was here. Actually, love the founders, love everyone I worked with. The company was in a tough spot, which then made me gave me some imposter syndrome, right? Because it's like, it shouldn't be, I'm part of this, right? Like, I should be more capable than this. Right. But it's just, set of circumstances, or maybe some lack of capability by me. I don't know fully. Right. But yeah, it's like, that whole thing, that whole feeling, it's never when everything's going well, everyone's like, cool, everybody's making money. We don't care what's going on. We don't really care what you're doing, man, as long as we're making money. But like, yeah, when the company's in a bad spot, that's when the feeling starts to be there. And that's when also like it trickles, right? Like, then you have a situation you have to take care of at home, and then you have, you're like, well, is the company in a bad spot because of me? Because I'm supposed to be in this role that doesn't put the company in a bad spot, right? So there's all that stuff. But if you tend to believe in your capabilities, which you should, Even if you haven't gotten any wins lately, the learns that you've gotten from the losses are also valuable. Yeah, you should be on the lookout, for just other opportunities, which I was, but yeah, I mean, it's doing a little therapy session here.
That's
Should we switch? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's what we always get into on Oopsie podcast. People start they're like, wait, am I in therapy or am I on a podcast? So sorry.
Yeah, well, because the whole principle of Oopsie, right, is that you talk about like big mistakes, and then anytime there's been a big mistake, you have the tendency to say, what was the situation? What was the set of circumstances that I had no control over? And then what was me? Like what like where did I actually mess up? I do want to switch gears a little bit and talk about 50 minutes into the podcast, talk about what you asked to or what you wanted to talk about up front.
Yeah.
And let's talk about just how things have gotten harder, specifically from I guess you said specifically from a tech and tools perspective, but I think that you could say in general, things have gotten harder for both creators and brands, creator side, brand side. It's just gotten harder to build. Yeah, I'll leave that open-ended. What are your thoughts on that lately? That's something you've been thinking about?
Yeah, I'll give an example because this has been coming up kind of often, even just in the creator world, but then also in the tech space. It's harder for people to start from zero and know nothing about both of those worlds. So for example, this is just a one that maybe a lot of people can relate to is if you were to join Instagram in 2013 and it was very basic, you post a picture, they use hashtags, and that's it, maybe a little caption and hashtags, and you post it. And to get reach on Instagram, that's all it was. There was an explore page, and people looked up hashtags. Some people followed hashtags, and that was it. Now, if you had never used Instagram and you download it today, it's a whole nother app. You have so many features to learn to use outside of just hashtags, and to get reach and on Instagram, for example, you have to use all the features, and because it's so saturated, and Instagram's algorithm pushes people who use all the features and especially all the new features. So this can be related to every single tech, if it's in your business or anything, or if you're a business trying to grow your social. It is really hard for people because I, for example, downloaded Instagram in 2013, and every couple months there was a new feature, and it's okay, cool. Now I can add a location. Yeah. And then a couple more months, oh, now I can do a carousel photo and put more than one picture on there. And slowly but surely, all these features just stacked on top of each other, and I know how to use the app. But and it's something I've been thinking a lot because it's also we use Gorgeous as our help desk. I used Gorgeous as not a sponsor, but I used it as an early adapter, and now there's so many more features than there was when I first started using it. And when I'm consulting, I see these brands are so overwhelmed with the dashboard and stuff, and I'm at first I'm it's easy to use. You just set it up and you can organize everything, and I'm why aren't you using all these features? But it's because I've learned that
you did that piecemeal, little at a time.
Oh yeah, exactly. So it's I learned as I went, and it was just easy instead of just trying to, especially because when you're running a brand or you're working for a brand, you're you don't have time to sit here and learn how all these features for 8 hours,
Yeah. So it's interesting. So this creates, I think there's two things going on, right? There's this outside looking in effect where when you were talking about Instagram, I was just thinking about okay, if you were somebody who was okay, today while we're doing this podcast is 2023, right?
For those of you listening in 2062.
Right. Yes, in 2062, you found this in the archive. Today in 2023, if you're an Instagram user, you followed people, you follow influencers, whoever, you see what they're doing, and then you say, all right, I want to start building my own. You might start doing what they're doing, not realizing that you follow them though. right? Like the reason you're seeing that is because you follow them, and there's actually like different features that get you discovered by new non-followers, right? That you're not seeing from the people that you follow. So there's like also this and the same is true of any tech. It's like there's this misleading thing where it's like you're going to jump in and start using it in a way that you see it used, but that's like not actually the best way to use it for what you want. And there's like no information out there about that, or there is, but you have to dig for it. Instagram certainly doesn't tell you. The other thing that I think it creates is like, right. The other thing, I think that reason this happens on the tech side, or on the, we'll call it brand side, the reason this happens in Instagram or in Gorgeous is because at a certain point, their growth rate, their growth curve flattens, let's say, right? So there's a phase of their business where they're getting tons and tons of new users, right? And during that phase of their business where they're getting tons and tons of new users, they're mostly focused on new users, acquiring them, onboarding them. And the best way to onboarding them is make it simple, right? Like keep it simple. So that's what they're focused on. And then that growth curve starts to flatten only because they have so many users now, right? Like they could still be acquiring the same number of new users, but now they've just got a bunch. And their current users are requesting these features, and there's a bigger like monetization, let's call it money making opportunity to release a new feature for their old users than there is by acquiring more new users. So they release a new feature for their old users, and they continue to do that and do that. And fast forward 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they don't even realize that like there's still new users coming on that don't know how to use all these features that they've released, because they got to a point where their current users, active users, was so much bigger than their new users. That's all they started thinking about, right? So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's exactly what happens at these techs. So if you're a creator or like a business that's trying to crack into it, it's like you need someone like you, a consultant, or some kind of content. Like you need to be consuming some kind of content of like, how do I do this right now? If it's TikTok, then just get on there and do stuff, because nobody knows anything yet. But like,
yeah, or like, I mean, yeah, TikTok's a whole nother world, but it is interesting, the like trajectory of like these SaaS and tech companies, because I'm learning that the experience, like the customer experience, is so important, because it's like if people don't know how to use your tool, then like what's the point of your tool, And like Gorgeous, I was like handheld through the whole onboarding process, and I'm like, this is a great thing. And I'm like, then I go into these people's accounts and I'm like, you guys don't even have like things set up where like I had these set up before I even integrated like our email with it. So it's like kind of crazy to see like how, like you said, like how they trying to keep up with like, and I'm sure there's a whole finance part behind it, or like they're just like different people working for them and stuff.
Speak to it from an e-commerce perspective, because I think there's this it happens in e-commerce too. So I'm actually seeing the tipping point with one brand that I work with right now. I shout them out a lot. It's Ondar. And I think we're actually about to do a modern commerce collaboration with Ondar, which is kind of cool because it's like a business thing and a consumer thing. But they are at the point, they're at that tipping point of growth curve of new customers, right? Where it's like most of they're getting to more than 50% of their revenue comes from past customers. Chomps is probably past that point, right? Ghost is certainly past that point now, but maybe it wasn't when you were there. Almost certainly, I guess I shouldn't say certainly. I don't know, but I know. Like if you're in the room, if you're in the meetings, you see it happening amongst the team, right? So as a customer, like, do you, as a customer experience person, like have to think about this and be like, whoa, like, let's not forget about the new people coming in who don't get the joke yet?
Chomps is like a special case, because Chomps, like, I think they just do a good job at like every role in the business is like always thinking about the experience. Like, and they like protect that experience because they understand that it's like so important. Where I think not all companies have adopted that yet. But yeah, no, it's so true. It's like you have to have these like company values and like mantras, and like always like go back to like remembering like what who you're doing this for, and like why you're doing it, and like never forget that as like the company grows, because it is really easy to like lose sight of that. So like for Chomps, I feel very blessed because in customer experience there, it's like it's top of mind for everyone. And we even have like in our onboarding process, like everyone even has to like sit at the desk and like do tickets for their onboarding. Like every single person has that experience of like seeing that and understands like how important this feedback loop is of like this is what our consumers are saying and this is what's happening behind the scenes and like how do we continue to make our consumers happy and keep them engaged. So like it's always at the top of mind for like literally everyone in the company. It's like everybody's job is actually like working for that end consumer, and it could be easy to lose sight of that, but I don't know, somehow Chomps has, I feel like, done a good job at like not losing sight of that.
No, it's a challenge, honestly, because we ended our IG live. Good to know. Casey, I don't know if you have any insight on why we did that. But you're muted, but
I think it's just because we hit an hour, it just automatically stopped.
IG lives end at an hour. We just learned.
We did just learn.
All right. Well, anyone who is watching on IG, hopefully they made their way to YouTube. I don't know if we really mentioned that we're on YouTube, but that's okay. Yeah, no, I think it's a good point because it's like, it's really easy to forget to just get this overwhelming amount of feedback, especially in customer service and customer experience from people who've already bought from you before, from people who are already fans. The people who give you the most feedback are the 5% of customers I was talking about earlier who are your biggest fans, right? Or the 1%, right? Like who are your biggest fans. But it's easy to forget that like some people are new here, right? It actually reminds me, creators do the same thing. It reminds me of like, have you ever listened to a podcast where like you start listening and instantly, like maybe within the first 10 minutes, they say like 4 different inside jokes and you're like, I don't know it. I don't know that joke. Like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Casey and I have this theory that it's like, it is actually good to do inside jokes, right? Cause it like endears your people, but like 1, you got to limit them. And 2, I heard somebody say it like this before, where it's like, oh, what you really would like is like a couple people to be watching or this active chat to be like, so if somebody's new there's like someone to tell them like, oh yeah, they say that a lot. Like, right. And that's like kind of how you want the vibe to be, that it's like, if they're new here, they might be like, what? Like, oh, I didn't get the joke, but that's all right. But you're not doing that to them too much. Right. Or they're just going to be like, I don't like this. And so creators are guilty of it too, where they just start thinking about, they don't think about anybody who's new, who's new here, doesn't get the joke yet.
I've been doing that a lot recently because
Twitch,
I have these.
It's got to happen on Twitch all the time.
Twitch all the time, but Twitch you have the the loyal people who can like explain things, and people would do that, like you said, like people would be like give the background of like what I'm talking about, or like I would for Twitch it would be like something like I would be like purposely like messing around and like purposely like I would be doing like a challenge of like my goal wouldn't be to like win the game. It was like I was like doing this silly challenge and someone would come in to the chat and be like, this idiot doesn't even understand the game. And then my chat would be like, she's not trying to play the game, like and defend me. But for my like Instagram lately, I have had this like crazy series of events with my neighbor who has been like terrorizing me and my roommate, like throwing rocks at us.
I've seen this series.
So okay, so yeah,
I'm
so
familiar.
like
I came in. Probably one of the people we're talking about. I came in the middle of the series.
Yeah, so you're like, what is she talking about? Yeah. And every time we like give like an update on like crazy neighbor, so I get messages that's like, what do you mean you had to call the cops 3 times last night and you like act like it's normal? I'm like, oh, like how do I explain the entire story that's been lasting 4 months? Like
you came in at chapter 10, man. Like you gotta go back,
catch up, like figure it out. But yeah, it's kind of hard to like, I don't know.
It's hard to do it as a creator. It's hard to do it as a brand. It's hard to It's hard to do it as tech companies, and that's why the tech you use. Yeah. So there. It's like a phenomenon. There's probably a word for it. I bet there's a name for it. Like we just aren't. Or if there's not, we should name it. What should we name it? It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. I'm not quick enough to think of a name off the top of my head.
Either.
Prestige Worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide is the name.
Just the idea, guy.
Yeah, the current, I don't know, the feedback loop effect. I don't know, maybe this seemed like a lot of buzzwords in that name, but working title.
Yeah, well, we can think on it.
Yeah, we'll jam on it after. All right, so I want to do one more segment here. And Casey, stay here for this segment so that you can be part of it. One more segment here. It's a new segment that I'm going to call Role Reversal. It's where we step into each other's shoes, and I become a female customer service agent for Chomps. You become a white guy. Your life's about to get a lot easier. No, you take over as host, and I will take over as guest for a short segment and then you can interview us.
Okay. I'm gonna change my role, so I'm gonna be the podcast host, right? Okay.
Yeah, you're the host.
Yeah, so
Welcome
I'm the host.
To Modern Commerce. Yeah.
Welcome to Modern Commerce, where we talk about modern commerce. John, I would like to ask you what your biggest oopsie in your career has been.
Okay, so I'll say maybe a couple, but I have one that many media buyers have, and it's, there's a word for it. It's the adding a zero oopsie. And it is where you have $1,000 a day budget, but you accidentally add a zero and have a $10,000 a day budget. So I'll tell the story. Or it could be any number. Any number, if you add a zero to the budget, it's significant. Like it's never not significant.
Like your finger slips and you're
or just some dyslexia takes over, something happens. You don't triple check it. I don't know. But yeah, so I've had that one. And so I'll tell a story. So I worked for this agency that had a client. It was like a really big, we had these like really big clients, and they hired this guy who was like a sales guy, but he had like this big personal brand. It was very strange, but it's kind of related to what we're talking about. But he had a big personal brand. He really just had like a big, I wouldn't call it a personal brand. He had a big Rolodex. Basically, it's like, oh, we're hiring you to bring your book of business over here from whatever our competitor was that you were previously working at. A little sketchy, so I won't say the companies who were involved here. But part of the deal was that he wanted us in our advertising to like feature him. Pretty smart dude, actually. So he wanted us in our advertising to feature him. So we agreed to a certain amount of budget to feature him. And it was like 10 grand or something like that over a period of a month. And yeah, I mean, I did the add a zero oopsie, and we spent, before we caught it, we spent probably, it was like a week. So we didn't spend the full 100 G's, but we probably spent 30, 40. We spent a lot. We spent more in that week than we were supposed to spend in the whole month, or just ever promoting this guy.
Did it work out? Like, did it work out as far as like bringing clients or revenue?
What do you mean by work out? Because no, that we didn't get that money back. So
you know how you could like spend money on ads and then it comes back and whatever.
Yeah, it's like, can I spin this in any way where it worked? No, because this was like this weird brand awareness campaign. Where it's like we weren't really getting conversions from it, or if it did work out, I don't know, because it's like it wasn't trackable. Like maybe this guy got a bunch of business. The guy looked really good in his first few months. So if it worked out, it worked out for him, not us, not me, for sure. For me, it came out of my bonus for the next quarter.
No.
Yeah. So I deserved it. I will say that I did deserve that, right? Like, it's like, you gotta check those zeros. So that's one. And I've actually had that same oopsie happen like more than once. Anyone who's bought a lot of media has, where it's like they set up a rule and the rule didn't work, or just whatever. They got the budget wrong. They overspent. They set a bid and they're like, oh, that should protect me from spending this much money. And then the bid didn't. So yeah. So Meta will do this thing. And this was on Meta, this was on Facebook. Meta will do this thing where if you make a mistake like that and you reach out to their support, they will refund you, but they'll do that once in your ad account. Someone had already used that. I worked there. So get out of jail free card was used. I could not use it. Came out of my budget for the next few months.
Wait, okay. Do you think that it came out of?
It came out of my bonus.
Yeah, you should have like split that with the other person who already used it.
I mean, he had no interest in that. He really didn't even, because he was a client, right? So we are agency.
Oh, it wasn't like another person from your agency.
We're working for client. So it made it worse. It's not our own money, right? Like, we're agency. He works for client. Like, he's not going to split it with me. Client was even like, so in this particular agency, which I do not actually recommend, doing it this way if you're an agency, but in this particular agency, the way that they did things is they fronted all the ad spend. So they spent their money and then they rebuild the client for the ad spend.
I see.
So I spent my company's money,
Huh.
which was better. It's probably better than spending the client money, to be honest, because
Mhm.
then we would have just lost that client. Or my agency might have refunded them either way and just taken it out of my bonus for the next quarter. But yeah, it was a lot. My bonus did not cover it. That was like the punishment, but it wasn't enough.
That's so sad.
Somebody lost some money besides me. So yeah, that was a bad one. I think that's probably a good enough story. I don't know if I've
That
got
was a good one.
lots. I've got lots. I've
before I
launched ads before with no copy in them, just like placeholder. It just says placeholder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you guys get the Starbucks like push notification recently that said
Yeah.
like
Nope. It
Sean K's test one
That
was
was
from the Starbucks app?
that was 100% on purpose, I think.
You think so?
I kind of think so. So sometimes you do that.
Why?
Sometimes you do that placeholder thing on accident, and it's like, damn, that worked pretty good. Or one thing that I found out that Casey used to use all the time back when we did email marketing is just like send an email that was wrong, or like, you know, something was wrong in it. And then so that way you can send a makeup email and be like, oops, sorry, oops, I messed up. And that oops, I messed up email will get opened so much. It's not a great customer experience, but
Yeah, I was gonna say like it feels.
don't overuse it.
Yeah.
Marketers have a tendency to ruin things. So like we don't
Uh-huh.
let that one out of the bag very much, but
I'm gonna wait to use that when I actually make a mistake, because I
We're-
will make a mistake and
that's
then I
ex-
will
yeah.
use it.
That's exactly what I would suggest doing it. Do not use it when you've made a purposeful mistake, because with your luck, you will then make a real mistake the next week, and then you've kind of used
You
it already.
can't use that again. Yeah.
Kind of like that Facebook credit. Like I think somebody used that for like $100 or $200, and I'm like, man, we should have just eaten that $200, but that wasn't up to me. He wanted to fix his own mistake.
I actually, when I worked at GNC, it was like literally my second day, and for some reason, it was a franchise GNC, so I was like trained by like the owner who, I don't know, it was just like this whole thing, but they let me work by myself, and I did not know what I was doing, and somebody wanted to split. They wanted to do this like buy one get one half off deal, and there was like two guys wanted to do buy one get one half off and split it so that they got like whatever, they both got 25% off, and one person wanted to use cash and one person wanted to use card, and I had no idea how to do that on their POS system. It was my second day, and I remember I pressed like enter, and the cash register opened to put the entire money in and not just the half, and I couldn't avoid it or anything, and I had no idea what to do. My manager wasn't answering it or anything, and I was like crying.
Oh, and then you're just stressed because they're like there, like, can we
yeah,
get
they're
our
just like
stuff, or-
watching me like try to figure this out, and so I just ended up being like freaking they wouldn't pay for the whole thing in cash. They wouldn't do it, and so I was like sitting here like crying like, oh my God, and they were like being mean to me too. They were
You're like, just
calling
take your
me.
stuff, I'll pay for it.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know what to do, so like they took it, and then that got taken out of my check, and I was like, you guys didn't train me. I didn't know what to do, but yeah, that one hurt.
So what I've learned to do when you have a oopsie that costs your company money is, before they get a chance to take it out of your check, offer. Because then they'll be like, no, yeah. So
that's a good one. That's a good hack.
Offer. I do that with clients too. I'll be like, yeah, I messed up. You can take it out of my pay, and they'll be like, no, it's fine. Whatever. I don't really work with clients that much anymore, but
life hack.
I like it's that. It's a good life hack. Casey, what do you got?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think the thing that comes to mind for sure for me professionally is we did some marketing for an event, and I made the oopsie because we were a pretty nimble team at that time, so there were a few responsibilities, but I was definitely our email guy. Like there was nobody else who was like focusing on email as much as me. And high ticket item, buying tickets to an event, and I can't remember, I think it was the abandoned cart flow,
like a pretty important one
set to live, and that was for, I want to say, a couple of weeks, maybe. Like
it was like most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that one, That was a pretty big oopsie. That one stands out amongst any other oopsies. That's the oopsie with like 2 capital O's, I think, for me.
So that one, I just want to say that I think it was a bad one for sure. I won't downplay it.
Oh, but you're about to be like, but it's not even as bad as this one or this one or this
no,
one.
no,
Are you about to just
that's
like
not
tear
what I'm going
Casey
to say
apart?
at all. That's
Yeah,
not what I'm
Remember
gonna
that
say.
one
just shit
time?
all over me.
The reason he feels that was a very bad oopsie is because at the time, usually I'm pretty understanding. So I led our agency. Casey was kind of like, came in a little ways in, like.
Wait, were you Casey's like boss at this time or something? Or wait, how did it work? What's the
Yeah, I
dynamic?
own the agency, and Casey was
Okay.
like kind of my right-hand guy. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I'm usually, I will say this about myself, and Casey can say whether it's true or not. I'm usually like a very understanding person. Like I'm usually like, yeah, look, you know what, next time, or, you know, that's not on you, or like, let's look at how it's the circumstances and not you. I think I said something like, I don't know how the fuck that didn't happen. Like, so I think that's why that one sticks out in Casey's head, because I was like, I was very frustrated and very ruthless about it. I felt instantly bad as soon as I said it. But yeah, I know that's why that sticks out, because I'm pretty sure that he's like, look, if I disappoint the client, whatever, but if I disappoint John, like.
That's
Wait,
true.
okay, so first of all, Casey, is John usually a understanding person?
Definitely.
Okay. And then 2, did he make you how did that make you feel when John said
Wow, okay, that's full blown.
Thought about it all weekend, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a while back now. This was like in my whole marketing career. This was pretty early on, I guess. Like, I don't know, a year in, maybe, like not too early into like make a mistake like that. But
yeah, no, I have to remember,
removed.
like, relatively, it was like, oh yeah, it is pretty new. You know what I mean? You knew what to do, right? But I'm not billing you out on it. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna answer Zoe's question of how it made me feel, and it made me feel not great. But John did explain it well. It's like disappointing the client. Like, I feel like I don't want to sound like too negative here, but if you're just in marketing long enough, that's going to happen. That's an inevitable thing that happens, and you just kind of learn to deal with it to some extent. But yeah, somebody internal that you work with like every day, and there is no like, well, they're gone now, whatever. Like, you know, not that that's really the take you have, but if you're really upset by something you do with a client, you kind of go, well, at least it won't be forever, maybe, you know, like how long is that going to affect me? And I mean, John and I are still working together, so I'm just thankful he doesn't
and
pull
he
that
still
stuff
brings
out.
it up every day.
Yeah, this
I
just
forgot
like
about
that
it.
time you never set up that flow, man. Jeez.
I forgot about it until you just brought it up, actually. So Casey thinks about it more than I would. But the reason I said I think I'm usually a pretty understanding person is, so a couple little background on Casey and I. We were best friends in 6th grade, 7th grade. So we've been best friends for a long time. And like, he was doing something else. I had this agency. He was like, hey, you do this Facebook ads thing, will you look at this? And I was like, don't do that, just come work for me. And so like that, he was my first hire, like this big risk, and it's like it's all worked out, and we've been kind of like PICs since. And then I think the reason it sticks out to him is 2 reasons. One, Casey's an extreme introvert who like he doesn't care what people think, but like there's like maybe 3 to 4 people in his life who he doesn't consider people, right? So if he disappoints them, he's like, a quarter of the people I care about now just hate me. And
is it like John and your family?
It's like John,
it's just like
maybe it's not even
me.
4.
In my brain is probably like, it's an extension of me. It's like, oh, like my right shoulder is pissed off at me right now. That sucks, because that's really inconvenient.
Honestly, 2 to 3 people, maybe 3. You know,
I mean, it varies. It fluctuates. Like decade, maybe.
Yeah. Oh no, your dad. Yeah, it's probably.
You're in. That's it with me.
But like John's always one of them. Since 6th grade.
There was a decade there where
very long.
Yeah. There was a decade there where I was in and out, but yeah. So and then couple that with the fact that I am understanding. Like, I think it's like a major event that Casey still, like, probably when he just talked about it, he had like that feeling in his stomach, and it came back.
All from an abandoned cart.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm like learning too, is I used to think that like, oh my God, I made a mistake and I'm such an idiot and I'm the only one who would ever make that mistake. But it's like, shit happens every day, and there's like other people making those mistakes. And I almost feel like when I'm doing consulting too, I'm like this therapeutic person for these founders who are hiring me, because like something will happen, or you're like, people will received the wrong orders or their warehouse is all messed up. And I'm like, every single company has the same issues. It's just like working through them. And that's like, we hear about this shit all the time on Oopsie is like everyone has an email Oopsie. Like the email oopsies are the ones like they send out the wrong email to like 500,000 people. It's like, can't take that back. Like everyone has a story like that.
No, yeah, it's true. I think everybody has had that feeling where it's like you're just like stomach drops out of your body. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I can't, it's happened to everyone and not only professionally. That's why I actually really like your podcast. I love the concept of it. Sometimes I think people get on there and cheat a little bit, and you should not let them. They get on there and like they don't say something that was like on them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like they say, oh, the company, this happened to the company or whatever, and it's like, no.
It's kind of like
tell me how you fucked up. Like
it's kind of like one of those like interview questions. What's your biggest oopsie? Well, I trusted this person too much. I'm too trusting. I just really like.
Sometimes
then he didn't set up some email flow for me. It was a huge night. It was a fiasco.
Oh, I'll give Shrey shit. You know Shrey.
Yeah. Shrey did that.
Yes, Shrey. I was like, of course this is your fucking oopsie. You made the company too much money. I'm like, come on, give us a real oopsie. I know you fucked up before.
No, you should have just on the pod been like, nope, unacceptable.
We'll have to get him back, and I'll like just chew him out and have him like outline every single time he's actually messed up.
Well, the main thing I've learned from this segment of role reversal was that I think Casey and I should be fired because you're way better at being the podcast host.
Oh, I forgot that I was the host. I was just talking.
Like your questions created such great conversation that we just forgot.
Wow.
That's how organic it was.
78 episodes in. You're better at it day one than we are. I think that's it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about, we could probably wrap up. It's been one of our longer episodes, one of our better episodes, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Been a good time.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Everybody check out Zoe. Pull your thing back up so I can read your Instagram handle. All right, Zoe @ Zoe Khan _ You got to fix that. You got to figure something else out.
I got to find someone to help me get rid of those underscores.
Yeah. Follow her on Instagram. Check out her podcast, the Oopsie Podcast, one of the better ones about e-commerce out there. If you are listening on an audio platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Google Podcasts, or I don't know, what's a super obscure one?
Pandora.
Yeah.
LimeWire.
Radio.
Yeah, LimeWire.
Oh no.
If you're listening on LimeWire, delete it instantly. Your computer's about to get a virus. Then rate and review. Give us 1 star, but honestly, if you're gonna give us 1 star,
Oopsie.
give us 5 stars. Tell us why you like us. If you are releasing new content and going live like this. And I think that's all the things. Did I miss any of the things, Casey?
No, I think that was pretty much it. No oopsies here at all.
Casey just straight oopsie in the music.
Well, I mean, more like we might be looking for some new software. That's annoying. That's like,
oh, that's one of those ones that's not on you. Yeah,
it's not on me. I just pressed the right button and it does the wrong thing. I don't know, man.
All right. Well, yes, if you're on any of the platforms, do the things that you're supposed to do on the platforms, all the creators say on that platform to do. And till next time, we will see you.